This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded June 24th, 2013. Episode 151, Initializing, Instructed, Interviews.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
Hello.
And
Hello?
Contextual
Anyone?
Electronics. Huh?
No, it's just us. We were going to have
sorry.
some guests on today, but
guess.
some things happening.
These things happen. Yep.
These things happened and it didn't happen. So it was just us again. Congratulations, everyone.
You're
You get
stuck
to
with
listen
us.
to us. Yeah, rant on about.
Oh yeah. Classic.
You can
We
hear
got a lineup. We got a lineup ready to go.
Oh yeah.
Start the groan
you
machine.
Can just, you can just hear the collective groan, can't you, across the audience right now? Not these two idiots again.
Oh, I can start it out. I can start it out strong. Ready?
Oh, go.
I got my Google Glass pickup notice.
You got
Yeah.
your pickup notice. You haven't actually got Google Glass yet, so it doesn't mean jack,
no.
right? And you haven't forked over your what? How much is it?
$1,500 plus tax.
$1,500 plus tax.
Plus plane ticket, which, yeah.
How much is tax?
Probably another $130, $150.
Right.
$130.
Is that a state tax thing?
Yeah,
is that
it's
a
like
Google
8%.
tax?
8% probably.
Right.
Yeah, you only
Right.
pick up in New York and California, so not exactly the lowest income tax or sales tax.
Right. Got it. Yeah, I see that all the time. Like, sales tax applicable in California. It's like California's like the only state that has it or something. Or now you're saying
California is
New York has it.
is a wide range of odd regulations and taxes and stuff. So,
Right.
yeah, it is what it is. People deal with it.
Yep.
People keep starting companies out there, so yeah, something's going right.
Right. So you're going to go ahead with it, and you have wife approval to spend $1,500 plus tax plus plane ticket to go on a jaunt to New York without her just to pick up Google Glass.
Yeah.
How do you swing that?
I did well, man.
Right, you picked well, huh?
I did, yeah. You have chosen correctly.
Wisely. You have chosen
Yes.
wisely.
Oh, that's what it
if
is,
you're
right,
talking
yeah.
about the Indiana Jones
Yeah, the
reference,
third Indiana Jones. Yep.
That's a great scene. You have chosen he chose poorly. Yes.
Yep.
I'm sorry for those who haven't seen the scene in
Well,
Indy.
if you haven't seen the third Indiana Jones, you should definitely watch that. Come on.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's great
Classic. Yeah.
fun. Yep.
But yeah, so if I am in New York, I'm looking at the weekend after July 4th. So if I am in New York, I will be doing Meetup probably. So if any New York listeners are out there, probably pick a bar and, go hang out.
Wear your Amp Hour t-shirt.
Of course, yeah. Amp Hour t-shirts all around. And speaking of Amp Hour t-shirts, so in a hustle and bustle to get stories for this week after the guest thing didn't work out at a couple hours beforehand, I had offered, if people post, we've been looking for ways to, give back to the audience and reward people for participating in stuff. And one thing I said that I think we could keep going is, if you have a story that we pick during the week, maybe we'll, people that post stories to the subreddit, because usually it's just me and Dave posting and really just me.
Right, yeah. Well,
I have the habit. That's the thing. I'm in the habit of posting stuff as I see it. But if people post stuff during the week and we talk about it on the show, I think we can do a raffle, for top story of the week kind of thing, and we'll pick a name from people that help contribute, because that's really helpful for when people post news stories that you guys want to hear about that maybe we wouldn't have heard about because we're too busy talking about Kickstarter or whatever else. So we have a couple that we might talk about this week, and then we can keep this going for every other week when we do our Just Me and Dave episodes, or sometimes the off weeks when guests don't work out. So yeah, it's it's a good idea. We got lots of t-shirts to give away.
Right. Come on, we'll end up going broke.
That's fine. I don't care.
We keep giving away t-shirts.
That's fine with me, man.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, who cares? We're not in it for the money anyway.
Yeah, we got money for a reason, right? It was to feed back to the community. So
yeah. No, true.
I'm always looking for ways to build up community around here. If there's other ways people think about building up community too, I'd love to hear them. Give me a shout, Chris@theamphour.com. Always looking for that stuff. I asked about that in the survey, which we just had the results come out from. So
the problem is that we do a radio show, we do a podcast show. People, just suck it from wherever.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's tough,
Excuse the phrase there.
Oh yeah. It's tough in any kind of medium. It's just. I was talking to a friend today about it's hard to get email addresses from people these days. It's just attention is the number one commodity these days, right? Like resources are not a thing anymore. It's not hard to find, information on how to build a switching circuit, right? It's the tough part is, if you're trying to spread a message is to get people interested, right? You have to find enough people that are interested in the same thing. And we've got about 6,000 that are interested in electronics, which is awesome. So,
yep.
So that's why we're giving away T-shirts.
And the interesting thing is I've got like 70,000 subscribers on YouTube now, but like I don't have 70,000 people watching my videos. It's like 20,000 or something. Or
right.
Or interestingly, here's an interesting thing, which my Fundamentals Friday series I've been doing.
Yeah, those are great.
Right? Yeah. The feedback, I get lots of thumbs up, and the feedback's great and everything. But only like half the number of people watch it who. Compared to like a mailbag episode or a good teardown. It's like, and I can understand that, right? Because like half of my audience are professionals, just like the Amp Hour, right? They are professionals and they don't want to watch a, how does an op amp work video, because they know it. Like,
I was thinking that they don't care. Like I think a lot of time on YouTube and everywhere else, right? It's the woodshed phenomenon, right? Woodshedding. I think we might have talked about that on here before.
Woodshedding? No.
Yeah. So if you have
a Yankee term?
No, I've only learned this a couple weeks or months ago. But woodshedding refers to so you're building a nuclear reactor, right? And you and 10 other scientists, right? You intensely debate of how you should construct the architecture of this nuclear reactor, whatever, right? And you put it out for public comment, and you get nothing. Right? Because no one knows, no one's an expert. But when you talk about what color you should build the woodshed out back, everyone has an opinion, right? And this happens all the time. This is the same thing, actually, when you're doing, when you look at like how you're actually trying to gather feedback from, like, say you build a circuit and you put it out there, right? People might, if you put it out for general comment, right? If you don't have like a group of users that you're specifically designing for, if you put it out for general comment, then, you might have 100 people that say it's great, 10 of whom are actually going to use it in the end, and 90 of whom say it needs more LEDs, right? There's always that problem in product development of, you might be designing something, you can ask for comment, and it could just be totally random feedback, like the... It's tough.
I've experienced that. My more technical videos, right? So, that might have an obscure topic, or a more technical that not many people know about. Yeah, the feedback on that is, like, very low. But as you said, like the color of something, how I should design my new power supply, right? Or what features it should have. Oh, boom! Here they all come.
Yeah, or when you talked about like your computer that you were compiling videos with, right, or processing videos,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the same kind of thing. I think about it from
did not get hammered for that.
Yeah. There's something called voice of the customer, right? That's a thing that like is in product development, and that's a big thing too, right? But my complaint about like voice of the customer, so that's like something where like your marketers will go out, like marketers like I've talked about in the past, where they go out to talk to customers, and then they gather what do they want for the next generation, right? My complaint with voice of the customer is always you give 100 customers a thing, right? So you want to work on your next generation product, you give 100 customers a thing, and then you say, what should we do next? And I guarantee that 99% of them are going to say, well, I want this, but I want it a little faster, I want it cheaper, and I want it, in blue, right? That's the problem with that kind of feedback. Like, really, really innovative product design, like you have to tease out what people really, really want, and it's so hard. Like the ones that are really good at it are either A, lucky, or B, they're just really skilled at like being able to actually hear what people are talking about, because that is a really, really tough thing to do.
Well, often you've got to interpret or infer what these people are thinking, right?
Yep.
Because they won't say it. And that is a clever person who's able to do that, right?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a tough thing to do. But that is the best case. We slag marketers off right around here, but best case scenario, that's a good marketing person, the ones who can actually figure that stuff out and work to get feedback once you actually have something done, right? So once you do have an idea, like how Jerry did, right, where she sent a half done thing out in the world, but she got tons of good feedback about it, right? Hopefully good and bad. And
and lots of useless, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of useless, yeah, maybe, but you're right, because if someone just says, "Ooh, wow, that's not as useful as," well, I see that you're running this at 100 hertz, why not 120? Like whatever she was talking about. I was just in the ooh wow camp, but
right.
But yeah, you have to find those people that are in the technical realm, and then you have to take those people, right, that say, all right, well, 120 instead of 100, and then you also have to take that group and divide them down and say, all right, well, the ones who say 120, why are they really saying that, right? There's tons of reason that everybody comes at a problem with different baggage.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yep.
You go show it to your business person, right? And they say, well, I like it, but it should be 10% smaller. And why do they want it to be 10% smaller? And it's like, oh, but maybe they want it to be cheaper or something.
Or it's got to fit in their pocket.
Exactly.
Or it's got to do something. Yeah, that's right. And they often won't tell you that. You've got to, understand that, they're saying different things, but they actually boil down to essentially the same issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's
the best
what you've
way
really
to do
got
it.
to solve.
Well, I think the best way to do that though is, if you can do fast iteration on an idea, right? So if you have, say you're doing something that is relatively innocuous, right? So you're trying to do, how bright should the LEDs be on a product, right? You might go to 100 people and they say, oh, brighter, always brighter, right? But the best way to really do that is you don't ask them, you show them, right? You say, all right, I have 3 different brightnesses, which one looks best? That is how you get good feedback. That's how you actually could design a better product, because if you go and design brighter, what does brighter really mean anyways? So that's a tough thing, man. Every
if
product
you're not
group,
putting it in the same context, it depends on how bright the room is, right?
Exactly.
If it's on a bit of entertainment gear, right, that's designed to be used in a dark movie theater, right? You don't want this big bright blue LED blaring at you. Right, yeah, of course. Blue's the new wank colour. It has been for the last decade.
Yeah, I know, right?
And, and you don't want, so you show them in the lab, in a or an office or whatever, or a showroom, and well, there's not a problem.
Yeah.
Right? But you get it into its proper use scenario, and there you go. It's crap.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That is, and
anyway.
and that's I think we're in a golden age for that kind of stuff too, because even just 3D models, right? Like 3D models are awesome for that kind of thing, because you're not going to get the whole gist of it, but man, like if you can look at something and actually rotate around on a like in a 3D environment, that helps so much. And then you can go and send that off to be 3D printed or CNC'd or something. Man, that's killer. Like it's really killer.
It's what you see is what you get. WYSIWYG. It's the old WYSIWYG thing, that started back in the old computer days when you could actually see what the font looked like on the screen.
Right.
Wow, and then like PageMaker, you could actually see what your whole page is going to look like before you print it. That's revolutionary stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah, it totally is.
You can see what your PCB is going to look like with the solder mask and the silk screen before you get it manufactured. That's one of the greatest innovations, ever.
Yep.
How much grief has that saved?
Yeah.
Every board designer. Oh, look, you can't see it because you're in this 2-dimensional world that you can't, and you miss that. Oh, the silk screen's over the pad, or the solder mask expansion isn't quite right on your board or whatever. But you get that 3D view, and that real WYSIWYG. It doesn't have to be 3D; it can still be 2D. But that real what you see is what you get thing happening. And And it's the same with those 3D printed model cases. You can get to hold the case in your hand and
nothing
see
tells
what
you
it's
like holding it in your hand. Yeah, you will find.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, especially for that like feedback mechanism of like giving it to a customer. Man, like that is like a magical process in my mind. I mean, I know it's not new by any stretch, but like even just giving it to like someone that's in your group, right? It's so tough. Like saying something like brightness, right? I said like brightness before. What does brightness mean to you, Dave, right? I mean, it could be, you could say 200 lumens, right? And even that doesn't mean anything to me, right?
No.
But eventually it's got to come down to like human perception, right? And then kind of like, it's like everybody calibrating to the same measurement level of, well, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? And then finally everybody says, okay, this is bright. And then this is brighter, and then this is less bright, right? That's how you have to do it. You have to get everybody in a room, and that's why plane tickets are so expensive still.
So what are we saying here? Product design is a bitch.
It's
is
tough,
that what we're,
but you know what? Yep. That's a good thing in a little bit. In certain ways, it's
it
good
keeps us in a job, right?
Yeah, it does. It definitely.
Well, me,
does.
I've moved on from that. I'm in the infotainment business, but
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still there.
Yeah.
In spirit.
It's exciting. I mean, it's frustrating still, right? I mean, it's frustrating, that kind of stuff, because, especially like, it's tough when you get like a last minute suggestion too, especially when it's really good, and you have to like turn it down.
Yeah.
Or you gotta
because
turn it down, or you
gotta,
stretch your schedule or something, man. That's tough all around. Speaking of trying things out, though.
What?
There is...
What are you going to segue to? Because that was a natural segue into
was
the
a total
3D
segue.
thing.
Yeah. So there's a new trend in software, at least, and I don't know if this. My question is actually about hardware, but so Google recently came out with. They came out and they flat out said those questions we ask people in interviews, like the ones everybody hears about and fears.
Those
are total crap.
Those puzzle questions. Those.
Yeah, you're stranded on a desert island with a duck and Sharpie marker and like rubber band.
And you've got you've got a bridge and you've got 3 people and they all weigh different and you've got to send them across and what's the most efficient algorithm to get them across and all that sort of jazz. I've been. Have you ever actually had those questions?
No, I never have. No, I don't think I get interviewed by
hit with those
interesting enough companies that they felt
You're right.
Yeah, I always try and sneak in where there's they're like, oh, I think there might be a job here, and I'm like, oh, I'll do it. I try and get in there before they actually think. We should start asking tough questions.
Right.
Very sneaky. But yeah, Google. So they're talking about now, like basically they say, this article it's a good article. They're talking about what they do instead now, and the author suggests to surprise, look at a portfolio of past work. And if you don't have past work, then yeah, I know, right? If you don't have past work, you don't get hired. So,
so is this what they're actually doing now, or is this just what somebody is speculating they're going to do? Or?
I think it's more the speculation. I mean, I think that it's tough to move that when you have big entrenched processes. That's tough to do. But basically, they've come to the point where they say, it's not really worthwhile. They might use it as a weed out mechanism, but
right.
But this person, so the author was actually mentioning too about doing. As a weed out mechanism, you just ask general questions, right? So a great general question for circuit type jobs or electronics type jobs, what's a voltage divider, right? Or give them a voltage divider question. It's like, man, that'll take out 30%, I'd guess, if not more, especially for co-ops. It's just
that's what I've always said. Yeah. Ask the simple, embarrassingly simple questions, and you'd be surprised how many it weeds out.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And it sometimes you get people that you probably shouldn't, but maybe they're a little too jumpy. Like,
right.
What are they really asking here? Oh, what are they?
Yeah.
Maybe I need to do a Fourier transform in order to...
I've had that. I've had ones that go, that question's insulting. And I go, fine, that's a good answer. And it's like, well, yes, it is an insulting question, but I've had so many good resumes, like very impressive resumes. I come in and I'll ask them that simple question anyway. I used to have a list of, very simple questions, simple op-amp circuit and stuff like that. And, or name 3 different types of analog to digital converters, and really simple dumbass questions. And, even the impressive resumes will just choke. I don't know. And it shows that they're just full of shit.
Yeah.
Every time.
I've had that once before where it was really, really awkward for me because I was a young guy. Just, they threw me in an interview because someone else canceled. And I was asking those simple questions because that was, my realm of experience so far. And it was, and I was talking to like a really experienced guy, right? And he just flubbed it. And I was like, oh, shit. Yep. So, well, the other thing that's the interesting about this, the author talking about this though, is talking also about giving an example project, right, for like a week. So pay him as a contractor, which is a little dicey because you think, then you have to basically ask them not to be working at another job at the time. But
it's
an interesting concept though. It'd be interesting to extend that to circuits.
Like Well, effectively, all jobs have a trial period, or every company I've ever worked at has a 3-month, usually a 3-month trial period. If you don't work out in the 3 months, out you go.
I've never had that. I mean, maybe it was there and they just didn't tell me.
Maybe it's an Australian,
I just happened to squeak through. I think it's like Ohio it's called work at will. So like they can get rid of me for any reason. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Whereas I think
and that's in the law, is it? And you can't go and sue them. Right.
I could, but like there's a whole bunch of dicey stuff there. But I know like in Australia, you guys have much stronger labor laws. So that's probably why there's always that 3-month period. So you have that eject button if you need it. Like that's I've heard of that in some industries as well, or some states as well, where there's stronger
it's
labor
actually
laws.
Not a law as well. It isn't a law. It's just like a thing companies like, because if companies document that as their process, okay, we will review your performance after 3 months, and if it's not adequate, well, out you go, and that sort of makes it kind of legal by the fact that you've put those procedures in place and that's the company policy you follow.
I get you.
So they can't claim that, discrimination, they just didn't like me. No, it's because we reviewed your performance. You didn't perform, you're out, right? So,
I was going to say, do they call that the Dave Jones rule? Like, we need someone right now, but we want to be able to push them out the door.
Right.
But no more of that.
Goodness.
Never again.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yep.
You think you'd ever be able to go back?
Me?
Yeah.
Would I be ever able to go back? Well, I've answered that before.
You have?
No, I'd probably have to leave all this shit off my resume.
Oh, this stuff, yeah.
Yeah, because if they take a look at my videos and they're like, this guy's just
nuts.
That's
true, yeah.
We're not hiring him. Jeez.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, it depends. Like, there'll be some people, Dave Jones from the EEV blog, shit, we'll hire him, yeah. Others will, your more anal, retentive, stuck-up big companies, they'll just, look at my things I've done and go, no way.
Yeah, that's the dicey thing, because I tell people, like, even talking about a portfolio, right? I mean, like, some of that is good, but, yeah, we should mention, too, that sometimes maybe you wouldn't want that. If you're trying to work on, like, maybe if you really want to work on, like, high-tech military stuff, sometimes that is dicey. I mean, you could show your past stuff if it was, like, open-source projects and stuff like that, but, yeah, you don't necessarily want to show everything or, live your life completely open, or as closed as the NSA will allow you to be. Wah wah.
Wah.
Yeah. Anyways, you were going to segue into something.
Well, I was, but we'll continue.
Okay.
Finish this off. It's always a tough choice you shouldn't always put everything on your resume.
Yeah, that's true.
Like there's people who flat out, if you stay at a job less than 12 months, well, there's a kind of rule of thumb that says, well, you probably shouldn't put that on your resume because it looks bad. You're better off saying that, I just went on a world trip for, 12 months and, rather than, say that, I didn't like it and I just quit,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what it looks like to the company that's hiring you. Or you only stayed here 9 months, 6 months.
Nah, I'd say no. Because if people are out there listening and are nodding their head to Dave, what I would say is you go in. Maybe it's tough to get through like the early filters, but I'd say if you go into a job interview and they say, "Well, why are you only here for 9 months?" You lay out exactly what it is in as positive a terms as you can and what you would do to change it. Right? I didn't like this because of this, and here's what I would do instead. I didn't like this because that's a tough thing to do, but like. I don't know. I respect that when I see that.
There are companies who still will not like that because they want grunts, right? They want grunts who stay and follow the rules and live in fear of losing their job, right?
I totally agree. Yes.
Some companies are like that. I mean, end of story. And they can be reasonable to work for, right? It could be a good job, but hey, that's just the attitude of the company. You may not get through the door if that's the case.
Yeah.
If they sniff that you're, one of these people who just, won't take any crap and will happily leave.
Right.
If they don't like it.
You just got to decide if you want to work there or not, I guess. Yeah, that's usually what it comes down to. Welcome to the real world, There's no hard and fast rules, really. That'll get you through. Yep.
So, Anyway, we've been dicking on for 25 minutes. We should segue back to our 3D printer thing, should we not?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's huge. Oh, can I do a side? Yeah, we've got to talk about it. Come on, it's huge.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, can I have a side segue here?
Segue off a segue, huh?
Yes.
Is it a segue off a segue about segways? Because that would be interesting.
It would be. Unfortunately, no, it's about 3D printers. Because it was on the news the other night, right? Oh, the news or one of those 6... Well, what they call news these days, right?
Oh.
Anyway, when I was
watched
a
the
boy,
Daily Show. Yeah.
Right, yeah, well, anyway, it was one of these, if you're in Australia, one of these 6:30 shows, a current affair or something like that. I don't know, whatever it was, blah, blah.
Nightline kind of,
Well, I don't know what's the equivalent in the US, but it's
Brian
sort of
Williams.
like just trash stories, Welcome
to 2020, I'm Baba Wawa. Like that?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had a story on 3D printers, right? And how they're the next revolution, blah, blah, blah. And how everyone's going to have one in the home. And, if you need a nut or something, you lost a nut or, something for your product, you can just print another one, just magic, right? Yeah. It's just going to happen like magic. And it's like, no, come on.
No.
This is ridiculous thinking. Anyone who thinks that they're going to be the next kitchen appliance is an idiot.
Yeah, I agree.
3D printers will always remain a niche, valuable niche tool.
I think for the near
they
future.
will make I think in a couple of years they'll make the hottest Christmas present, right? But they'll be toys, right? They won't be in your kitchen and you'll be able to produce everything that you possibly want because it's just, hundreds of technical reasons why that's not true. I lost my shoe. I can make a new one on my 3D printer. It's like,
no, I get it. No, I know what you mean.
You say, okay, excellent. All right. Anyway, it just bugs me, those kind of stories. And
I know, it's tough looking at that stuff from like from a consumer-facing side of things, right? It's every type of commodity, no, not commodity, but just, any kind of technology like that where it gets, commercial recognition. There's bound to be misinformation and just lack of information. But I'm sure we're part of that.
Flat out flights of fancy, It's just, it's...
Yes, we know. I happen to have my own flights of...
Like the chip printer.
No,
yes.
you said it.
Yes, come on. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Goodness sake.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason for this, because, as everyone knows, 3D printers are the next industrial revolution. And because of that, MakerBot... If you haven't heard, if you've been living in a hole, just got bought out for $405 million.
Smackos.
American dollars. What's that, like 200 Australian dollars or something? No, sorry, our currency's going pretty poor at the moment compared to the greenback.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, a company you probably haven't heard of, Stratasys. Apparently they're big in 3D printers. Who knew?
I did.
Well, there you go. Yeah, if you're into industrial 3D printers, you'll have heard of them, of course.
Yeah.
But if you're into the hobbyist side of 3D printers, you've probably never heard of them. Anyway, they're worth a couple of $1 billion on paper, and they bought in a stock swap. By the way, there was no cash exchanged hands, so it was merely just all paper and $405 million plus a couple of $100 million in bonuses, I believe, if they stick around.
Yeah, I think another $200 million.
Another $200 million.
It's I don't know, man.
Come on, we need to talk about this. This is what we do on this program. Yes, this is what we do on this program.
All right, here's the things
I'll start.
You start.
Go. No. You start. No.
All right, I think it's interesting because we have a former founder on the show in the past. Zach Hokensmith was a former was a founder of MakerBot and was no longer part of MakerBot. We didn't talk about it on the show as much because, but yeah, he was part of it, and they separated ways. But so that's interesting for me because we know Zach and we've talked about Bree and Adam and the whole, and obviously Jeremy Blum's been on the show. Jeremy designed the...
Yeah, he works there,
You reviewed the board. Actually, he just contracted there. You reviewed the board, and he worked on the...
Yep, that's right.
The scanner that they're working on. So that stuff's interesting because we know people, right? It's personal at that point, right? It's interesting, it's hobbyist, it's close by, but... honestly, you know what my number one thought about all this was?
Please tell us.
I can't wait for them to stop saying that MakerBot is the Apple computers of 3D printing. Like, I know that's super snarky, but like that was the number one thought that came in my head. Like, I like MakerBot. I like what they're doing. I like that they're, opening up technology, but I couldn't stand that comparison for some reason.
Right.
Like, it just didn't feel right. And now it's like, well, they sold. They're no longer the same. So, all right. Next. It's just okay. Yeah, it isn't good. It isn't bad. It just is to me. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, it
is true though. They are kind of the Apple of the low-cost 3D printer market.
No, they're not though. That's the thing. They sold. They're gone. They are effectively.
Yeah, but no, they were.
They have evaporated into the ether of larger corporate structure to me. I mean, like, yes, they're going to keep their brand. Yes, Bree will still be in charge. Like, that's good. I like that. I like Bree. I like everybody there. It's interesting from a technology's perspective, right, of accessibility, but everything else,
Right.
Oh,
goodness.
What did you think? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, yes, congratulations to Bree and everyone else, because a lot of people have been dissing them, right? And it seems to be that there's, a split in the community here. Those who sort of are trying to make money from the from the open source hardware industry, or they're trying to make a business, trying to make a name for themselves. They're all applauding, going, congratulations, because hey, it could be them one day, right?
Right, exactly.
Hey, sure, right. But those who aren't trying to do that and are doing, are down in the bowels of the open source hardware movement, they're so passionate that everything in the world should be free and blah, blah, blah.
Idealists, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's idealism.
Yeah, idealists. That's kind of like the term I was after. And, they're all like, oh, this, MakerBot's evil and, and they've sold out and blah, 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 whatever. It's like, well, no. Good luck. Congratulations to Bree and everyone involved. They built this business. It was clear from when they started this MakerBot startup that that's what they wanted to do. They had the vision of MakerBot being the next 3D printers being the next industrial revolution and all that sort of stuff, even though I don't really like that term so much. But they had the vision of it, and they treated it as a serious business, and they got venture capital funding, and they took it right through to the end game of almost cashing out. They haven't done it yet. My advice to Bree, if he can sell his shares, do it at the early, because this company is so overvalued that boredom. Anyway, we'll get into that.
Oh, Stratus is,
Stratus is way over. Their price-earnings ratio is off the scale.
Full disclosure, I am a stockholder.
Right, well, there you go. Sell. Because they're only going to go down. Anyway, but yeah, good luck to them. They did exactly what they set out to do, and fantastic.
You're right. If you decouple the emotion about the open source hardware and closing it off to just from running a business, they've done good stuff, right? Their marketing is great. Their community outreach is great. All that stuff is really great. I mean, that's. Yeah. You're right.
They deserve to get it.
That is what they are rewarded for. It in much the same way that community building is a lucrative business these days, right? Look at Instagram, Snapchat, all these. That's more software side, but on the same token, like community building is a big thing, right? And we should state, Dave has a big community. I'm trying to build a community. Like these are not small things. So
they're a big deal,
should be applauded.
And that's And that's one of the reasons why Stratus has bought MakerBot is because of the brand and the community. In fact, that's probably the only reason,
No,
well, there's a couple of reasons. Let's go through them, right? MakerBot are, I think, currently the leaders in the low-cost 3D printer space, right?
Depending where you define low-cost, but
it depends on where you define it, right? But the fact is, in their whole 4-year history, right, they've only sold 22,000 printers, right? It's chicken feed.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't make... I don't think they make big margins on these things. So Stratus is buying them as a viable commercial entity is just insane, right? They did not buy them because they're making money or will make, or potentially make a huge amount of money. Right? They didn't buy them for the financials. That's what I'm saying.
No, I agree.
Right? And they didn't buy them for the technology, right? Because most of it is open. I mean, sure, they've got the new, what's the new engine, the software?
Oh, Slicer?
The Slicer or whatever it's called. I forget the term.
Maker something,
Yeah, they've got some technology there. But really, they did nothing that, it makes it worth $400 million in script, right? That's insane. For 1/100th of that, they could have put some R&D and did the same thing. It's just, so they didn't buy them for the technology.
Right, but the brand and the everything, all the softer stuff is very worth it to them, right? Like the brand.
So what did they buy them for? They bought them for the brand because they're the, the Apple brand of the, of the low cost. I know, sorry. But anyway, they have a very strong brand, right?
They do.
So they bought it for that. They have a very strong community in the Thingiverse thing. That's that's another thing that they bought.
Yeah,
and they have the. Yeah. Go on.
No, I was going to say just strong penetration into like the artistic market, just everywhere they want to go, everywhere Stratus just wants to go. Yeah, totally. I mean, you're right. Everything you've said, I agree with. So. And
they have the poster boy of the 3D printer market, Brie. Make no mistake, they were buying Brie as well. That's why I'm sure, I don't know the details, but I'm sure they've locked him up good and tight.
Oh, right.
So that he's not selling his shares and just bailing to the Cayman Islands, right?
No. And I'm sure he wants to stay too, right? I mean, like, I'm sure that's...
Oh, of course he does. Of course he does. He's a passionate guy. Yeah, no, he's a passionate guy. And he does see this as the next industrial revolution, and fantastic. Good on him. And he's probably kind of right. Depends on how you define the term. Anyway, so Stratasys are essentially buying ownership of the low-cost 3D printer market. But they're paying a buttload of money for it.
They are paying a buttload.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you ran the numbers on this, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah. And
Brie sold out at the perfect time for, assuming he can convert that into cash and everything else.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, Stratasys, they'll never get money back on that, right? Yeah. It's just foolish. That's why I think anyone who owns Stratasys shares will probably bail because they're oversubscribed and now they've paid a buttload of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of goodwill packaged into that. If you're into stocks, right? Goodwill being the,
that's right.
The value, the intangible value. But
yep.
I was talking to I went to a dinner with a friend tonight, and we were talking about just hardware startups and just hardware in general, right? And what would it take to start like a industrial hardware company these days, right? Because even I like I've talked about before, I work with Nick Pinkston on the Hardware Startups Reddit. We look out for stories, right? We try and foster community around it, and it's very interesting to me. But even still, like in California, it's a lot of more gadgety or consumer level, like software wrapped in plastic type of stuff. And there's other stuff around, like there's like that what was that mill that just came out? I forget what the name of it already. But, it was like this little CNC mill. There's tools and stuff like that that's out there. And obviously a lot of circuit boards. You see a lot of Arduino-type stuff as well. But an actual, like, heavy machinery. How would you start a tractor company today? Just like...
I don't know. Well, even if... Well, it all comes down to production.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, totally.
Just take a look at MakerBot, right? They just opened a 50,000 square foot facility, right? Yeah. They went from 5,000 square feet to 50,000 square feet, right? How did they afford to do that? Well, it was their venture capital investment, right? They really couldn't have gone on that sort of scale just by, the small profit margin they're making on those printers. I'm not sure how big they are, but, just that continual bootstrapping thing doesn't get you, that order of magnitude gain in the production scale that you're after.
Yeah. If you're trying for growth, then VC money is the steroids, right? That is what allows you to grow faster and stronger in a shorter amount of time.
Yep.
The example I pointed out was like Tesla, right? But even Tesla Motors, right? They had a confluence of factors that was totally crazy too, right? Like Tesla is like this poster boy of success, but like Elon Musk poured his life savings into that from his PayPal and everything, and then they built on top of the skeleton of a failed auto industry in California, right? They built inside the GM factory. They refabbed it and everything, but like just the infrastructure there is just insane. And so I think about like, God, building like industrial level hardware these days as a startup. Like, we've obviously we had Touchstone on the show, right? They're starting fabless, but man, how do you even start these days? If you want to build tractors, right? If you want to take on John Deere, where the hell do you start?
Well, didn't who did we have on? Was it one of the semiconductor
Touchstone?
No. Who else have we had on?
We've had Cree.
Gecko, the tiny gecko.
Oh, that was another story we were supposed to talk about last week. We can talk about that this week, too.
Oh, can we? Oh, okay.
They got bought. Anyway, yeah, they got bought by...
yes. Bought out or merged or something. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know the details. Haven't.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, didn't they say at the time that, it's impossible for anyone to get venture capital to start up a fab-based semiconductor these days? It's literally impossible.
See, no, I think that was Touchstone talking about that, but Oyvind also...
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, Touchstone guys were... they were talking about that, but Oyvind also... I mean, it's all the same story, right? When you're starting... They all start fabless because, that's effectively, even in the silicon level, right? You still have to... even with venture capital, that only pays for your really expensive analog circuit designers, right? Or, just your circuit designers and software and all the licenses and stuff, right? And then you have to bootstrap from that revenue to then go try and take it up a level. And then maybe after 20 years, you can go buy someone's, dilapidated fab and redo it, right? And, work in a 6-inch fab, which in, 20 years will probably be an 8 or 12-inch fab, right? But it's tough, man. Like that kind of stuff, like it's such slow growth. It's not what VCs want, like even with the resurgence of like hardware startups, they don't want tractors. They want gadgets. They want little plastic, very well designed, right? Perfect brightness LED like gadgets, right? I get that.
Yet there's probably a perfectly fantastic $1 billion market for tractors.
Of course, yeah.
But it's not sexy, right?
No, it's not sexy. And you know what? I can answer my own question. Where do you even start with that? And the answer is China. That is where you start, because I actually have a friend that he started out working just straight up. He's American, but he moved to China. He's fluent in Mandarin, and he's a mechanical engineer. He just started going over there, and he was helping people just copy designs, and then they just moved up the value chain, and then they started designing their own. And it's just like they just got the cash flow going in this low cost region, and then. It's all that stuff that like Clay Christensen talks about with like you always start in the low end and then you work your way up, and it's just it's friggin' crazy, like all this startup stuff is just because we're gonna see more of this. This is not stopping people. I mean, like this is only gonna get worse. Like this is hardware is just getting its footing. It's just getting its footing. Like we're gonna see so. Speaking of Zach, right? So Zach obviously was the one that worked with MakerBot, and now he does Hackcelerator. Yep. He posted today on Twitter. He said, we got 15 applications for a light bulb you can turn off with your smartphone. I think we got enough, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's but the fact that they're getting 15 applications at Hackcelerator for turning off a light bulb with your smartphone, like that's just a sign of things to come, right? I mean, hardware is just getting started in terms of, software wrapped in plastic kind of hardware. So,
and everyone sees everyone else succeeding, and they want to jump on the bandwagon.
Yep, and that is how a bubble starts.
Yeah, right. And that's how it leads to Kickstarter failed Kickstarter projects because it's so easy to try and raise capital these days that, for any idea when you don't have a clue how to execute the idea.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that comes back to community too, right? Like we've talked about like the success factors in Kickstarter before, right? There was an actual study on that, but one of the main factors is how many followers do you have on Facebook? That is like one of the most like tracking factors on Kickstarter is how big your audience is, right? It sounds shitty, right? Because as electronics designers, you want to know that it's the same thing as like, oh, I don't like marketing, right? I just want to work on circuits. It's like, yeah, of course, I do too. But there is always that reality fact that comes in. It's like, it's not what you design. You can't just put it out in the world. You also have to, usher it out with floofy marketing speak and everything. Like there is something to that science, even if you don't want to touch it, right?
Right.
So it's...
And of course, then you try and... if you don't have the reach yourself, you try and reach out to others who have the reach.
Of course, right.
I get it all the time. Can you review my Kickstarter? Can you mention, can you do a video blog about my Kickstarter project? And
yeah, that's tough, right? And you want to help, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like not like it's not like bad people asking this. I mean, once in a while it's bad people, but most of the time it's not. But yeah,
unfortunately, and we get the same thing on the AMP Hour. Oh, can you mention our product, our project, our whatever? Yeah, well, we'll try, because this is more of a format that's that allows that sort of thing. But my video blog, for example, is not sort of the format that allows that does that sort of thing. So I just have to turn them down, and I feel sad, and I feel bad about it, because I want to help people that are enthusiastic and are starting, a company or they got their idea and they want to get off the ground, and
right. And it's like you don't want to tell someone to like spend all their time on Twitter or just fritter it away. Like honestly, I don't wish what I do on anyone.
No, because we just fritter away our lives.
Yeah, we do, right? Yeah. I mean, like you and I talk about that. Like
totally.
I wouldn't say we fritter it away, but it just is a time sink. Like that you have to be disciplined, and neither of us are. Right?
No. That's why.
And so you have to strike that perfect balance of doing interesting things and then also trying to show it to the world, right? And that's right. It's just a reality these days, and you can't have too much of one or the other. So it's a tough road to hoe,
Maybe we can invent something that helps us become more disciplined.
Crack.
But then we won't be able to finish that idea because we're not disciplined enough.
Recursive terribleness.
I'm amazed. Speaking of crack, I got a story for
Segue of the year. T-shirt time, folks.
I have lost count of the number of comments I get, usually on YouTube. Not saying anything there, but usually on YouTube, about how I'm on crack. I must be on crack or meth. It's crack or meth. Okay. Right? Or is it that the same thing? I don't know my drugs.
No, they're not the same thing.
Right, no, right. Okay. Anyway.
We watch Breaking Bad. Come on, man.
What?
Breaking Bad is this awesome show, but never mind.
No.
Oh,
right.
Okay. I'll tell you about it after the show.
Yeah. Anyway, I lost track of the number of people that leave that comment. Are you on meth, dude? Are you on crack? You must be.
Because you're high energy. You're high on life,
I'm high
man.
energy. I'm enthusiastic,
Yeah. And also your voice. I mean, we know this. We know this about your voice.
Yeah, of course. That's right.
Yeah. Coffee is effectively legalized crack, right? I mean, like it's actually the same plant family as the coca leaf. So.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Oh, there you go. Yeah. See, I don't know because I'm not a coffee drinker, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about coffee. So I drink a lot of coffee, right? But, the way the physiology, as far as I understand it, is that, basically coffee blocks certain receptors and it makes your brain go into overdrive and start secreting adrenaline. But I was on a deadline today and I was just like, I didn't need coffee at all, like it's the same thing we've talked about in the past about like when you're down to the wire, and it at the same time, I've also noticed I'm getting gray hairs. The stress isn't always good, but there's a healthy amount of stress in a project, right? I'm nearing a deadline. I'm really not feeling confident. I don't like this feeling, right? I know the feeling. I recognize it, but I don't like it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, oh, this is kind of useful, you know. It's like, I'm doing some good work right now, you know.
Right.
It's terrible, you know. Like, and I think a good manager kind of toes that line too, of like, you know, trying to encourage you, but also strike just this tiny little bit of fear in your heart, right? And maybe you brews the coffee a little stronger in the morning when you need something done, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. No, never needed it.
I know, it's weird too. So you don't drink coffee, you don't drink beer, right? There was an article about that where, you know, they were talking about the and that actually might have been where I was reading the physiology of it, but they were saying that, you know, when you're really hyped up on adrenaline or coffee in that case, right, your creativity actually drops, right, because you're so focused on.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So they said drink beer for creativity and coffee to get stuff done, right? So
right.
You know, your mileage may vary, but it seems to fit my lifestyle, so I'll go with it.
Right. Oh, boy. Yep.
Yeah.
Nah, sorry, I just do not understand.
That's okay.
Do not understand at all.
That's all right, man. You're doing it right.
Yeah.
You
excellent.
Yeah.
Sugar, I can understand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sugar.
All right.
Delicious.
Sugar.
Speaking of sugar, there's a pacemaker for your digestive system. The Spectrum just came out with this article recently, but basically, you know, like this is a new trend as well, like putting electronics into the body, right? We talk about software wrapped in plastic, and that is interesting, but I think hardware wrapped in cells is way more interesting because it's way harder to do, right? You think about I think about it like in terms of PCBs, right? So 20 years ago, it was really hard to get a PCB made. These days, there's services like Oshpark and, you know, Seed Studio and everybody else, right? And it's becoming commoditized, right? But I think these days, the new PCB is one, silicon, right? Or two is cells and just biological agents, right? Because
that is the next electronics revolution, I think.
Yeah.
Is bio electronics, whatever you want to call it.
Right. And I'm done for, you know, I have no chance, you know. So I'll tell people about it on the Amp Hour, of course, but if you want help on actually getting stuff done, man, it's insane. Like the microfluidics, I think we've talked about in the past and that's actually on silicon where, you know, it separates stuff into different channels and everything, and then it does detection.
Yeah.
And that
fantastic.
We have a chance with that, right? Because eventually they're going to bring, you know, you'll pay $20 for a biological sensor, but then eventually it'll come out to a SPI bus, and I can handle SPI, right?
Right.
But if someone asked me to go make like a, you know, a DNA transistor or something like that, it's like, all right, well. I'll see you later. I'll be over here getting creative with my beer.
Wonder how much capital it takes to do a medical startup like that.
Oh, yeah.
No, and work on stuff like that.
Well, yeah, you think about the testing cycle. I mean, like, so testing right now, testing is just expensive on its own because you have to give it to someone, and then there's the whole, you know, test, fix, repeat kind of cycle, right? But, you know, in the biological sector, it's like, before you even get to the test step, you have to get through like certification, and then you test on
that's a
whole animals, and then you certify again, and then you test on humans, right? It's just like it's crazy.
Well, I'm just talking about the pure R&D side, let alone the compliance and actually getting it to market. Like I see like at auction, you know, you see all these, you know, the medical companies going under or something, R&D company, and all these whiz bang, you know, analysis machines, you know, that must cost, you know, $500,000 a pop or something, and they sell them for like $20, you know, because like they're so specialized, nobody, you know, needs them. And I don't know, does anyone out there work in the biomedical R&D industry? It'd be fascinating. Maybe we should try and get someone on the show.
We should.
Who develops biomedical, you know.
Yeah. We had people
There's a lot
respond
of
to
stuff
this
done
in
in Sydney.
The survey when we did that.
Oh, okay.
We asked about consumer electronics, and then we let people say what they worked in, if not that. And so we did have some biological responses. So, yeah, Yeah, it's
quite
crazy.
a bit of that goes on in here in Australia and in Sydney. We develop, an artificial heart and artificial eyes and all sorts of whiz-bang medical stuff here.
Yeah, Cleveland too. I mean, Cleveland Clinic is actually a worldwide brand. People have Cleveland Clinic in different. There's a Cleveland Clinic in Dubai, actually.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, but it just sort of sounds dodgy. Cleveland Clinic. I don't know why. It just sort of...
No, they are dodgy.
Oh, right.
If you've ever gotten a bill from them, you would agree. I've gotten many.
Right.
They're huge. They're absolutely huge. But yeah, there's a lot of actually medical researchers there too. And that's the thing. I mean, that's the downside, right? There's less, from a research perspective, right? You're often tied to a hospital or a college, right? And even colleges are often tied to the hospitals that are, like research hospitals. You need to be part of that mothership in order to get through all the paperwork and having the lawyers around and everything. So yeah, it's a tough industry, but yeah, if you do it right, I mean, obviously biomed's already been through one bubble, and I'm sure it'll be through another, but that has that bonus of it has two sides, right? The upside is that you get to say at the end of the day, like if you like this IEEE article is about actually monitoring people's gastrointestinal system, so you can help diagnose Crohn's and help fix that kind of thing, right? But on the downside, if you're looking for empirical data, right, there's limited amounts, and then you say, how do you feel? And you're back to the brightness of the LEDs thing, right? It's like, so one person says they feel terrible, and another person says, that's nothing, like, you go ask
goodness.
You go ask a 3-time mother, like, how does getting your foot stomped on feel? And she starts talking about the pain of childbirth, and you're just like, I don't want to know. Like, I'm sure that. Yeah, I'm a wimp.
Oh, dear. Right.
Another reason I can never work in the biology industry is just I'm such a wimp for that stuff. So,
if I was looking for somewhere to invest, I'd be investing in the biomedical industry, I think.
It's tough though, like there's a lot.
Oh yeah, no, you can lose your money just as quickly as you can make it.
There's a lot of speculation, at least in the States, right? Because like you said with the commercialization side of things, right? So I had a friend that worked in that around here. So if people don't know how it works around here, it's like even with lines of code, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, has to approve every revision, and you have to have huge amounts of documentation. And so what you end up getting is like this technology that's very, very behind the times because it's very stringent around here. So people end up going to develop stuff in China or something, then they try and get in later, or I'm not sure how it is in Australia, but it's very, very stringent.
Same here.
And so the same thing goes with like biomedical companies, that people speculate on the idea that, oh, well, this company says they're about to get approval from the FDA, and then if they do, then it's, MakerBot style payday, and if not, then it goes to zero, right? So it's real speculation versus, stock, fundamentals and stuff. Yeah, that's the downside. But
you can invest in the industry.
Yes.
What's the term? You can invest in the industry index or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's true. That's true.
Overall, you can average out the noise there of, noise, when, $100 million companies, fail and succeed. That's just noise in the financial system, it just averages out.
Yep.
Scary. Oh, man. Very
Speaking
scary.
Of noise, if you're afraid of it, we've talked about this once before, but Scott Harris posted this, and it's too good not to talk about. If you're afraid of noise, especially electromagnetic noise of any type, you can move to a cell phone free town, shonky town of the week, Dave.
Where's this?
This is
in our list somewhere.
Yeah, it's at you have to hit new, but
all right.
People, we've talked about this before. People think that they're electromagnetically sensitive, and so West Virginia, the sanest of all the states, of course, /sarcasm. So they have cell phone free towns and everything where you can be safe from the dangers of electromagnetic radiation. As someone about to strap an electromagnetic device to my face a couple hours a day,
right.
I hope they're not right, but It's tough, right? I mean, like,
wow, hang on. There's something I can feel in my ears from these headphones. Shit! Whoa! No.
You safe?
Sorry.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
I don't know. I don't think I can use headphones anymore.
Did you have an incident? Is that...
The yeah, I think I had a panic attack.
Oh my God! It's an electromagnetic
electromagnetic
interference. It's about somewhere between 2 and 20,000 hertz.
I better move to this town where I feel better.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you will experience.
You want to know what the thing is?
What's that?
It's real, right? If you move to this town, you will feel better.
That's right.
It's just like when you pay $20,000 for a speaker cable, you will hear the difference.
That's right. Because your brain wants you to.
Yeah. It's real. It's a surreal psychosomatic effect.
Yeah. Well, it's the basis of all shonky products of the week, effectively. I mean,
right.
and towns now, right?
Right.
Oh, man. I feel bad laughing at people like this, but then, it passes and then I laugh at them. Like, it's tough because, right. Like, there's always that nagging feeling like, oh, what if I'm wrong? But whatever. I base my entire life around this stuff, and it's not like they're actually getting away from electromagnetic radiation No,
it's still
in any case, right? I mean, like, background radiation is... Oh, God. Tinfoil hats.
The funny thing is, I see, like, they put a photo here, right, of this town, and I see, like, a shed, right? They got, like, a shack with a huge, big solar array next to it.
Yeah.
And, well, as someone who's just installed a solar system, those inverters...
Yeah, it's kicking off tons of stuff.
They pump out some shit.
Yeah.
Right? Right, you've got to have an inverter in there to charge the battery system.
Exactly.
And, which I assume they're using. It's like, yeah, but, it's solar, it's, it's natural, it's all good,
Yeah. Yeah, going from DC to AC and AC to DC, man, that any kind of switching stuff, it always, it's just not efficient, right? Like, you think about efficiency, right? And when you get an efficient process, an efficient conversion of power, like, you trade off noise, right? You can, if you look at like a sinusoidal converter, right, where you actually... putting transistors in the linear region and actually driving a sinusoid through a transformer, you are burning tons of power, right? It's just how it goes, right? So you trade off, you're either, push-pulling, and slamming your transistors around and getting tons of harmonics,
right?
like your inverter probably is, or you go nice and smooth and you get about 20% efficiency, right? Like, it's just...
And you use your Class A amplifier instead of your Class...
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we need to do is to try and get a electromagnetic sensitive green... like super tree hugger, people who don't understand the concepts of efficiency, right? Try and get them in the same community and just watch them implode, right? Not understand engineering trade-offs and Hatfields and McCoy style, right? They'd be, turn down your switching noise, make your stuff more green.
Oh boy. And of course, if you get any of these freaks in a true double-blind A/B experiment, just like the audio fools,
yeah, right.
their claims just fall away.
Right.
Completely. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that rubbish.
Yeah.
As funny as it is, what's this crap about unemployment rate for electrical engineers soars?
Yeah, this seems like kind of like number smithing. So remember, earlier in the show we were talking about, when you go and you talk to someone and they give you good feedback or what seems like worthwhile feedback, you have to ask their motivation as well. I think that might be the case here too, but it's still as an interesting headline. So basically,
and how do you define electrical engineering?
Well,
I mean, does that include people who operate steam trains?
Oh right, yeah. There is that where depending how you've been your data and everything. But I was saying more so like, so they go through the whole study and they say yes, it's down 8% or 6%. Sorry, unemployment for electrical engineers is up to 6%, which is closer to the average nationally, at least in the States. Versus
so the headline is
what it should be or what it actually is.
Well, what's the point of why is that news?
Because if you look at it as a step change, right? If you're going from 3% unemployment to 6% unemployment,
right, to 6%,
that looks huge.
Right, you've doubled it. Right. Yeah.
It could be just a normalization. It could be, fewer people are counting themselves as electrical engineers because, a lot of electrical engineers end up in firmware, right? Like if you go survey firmware engineers, like it's shocking how many of them were formerly hardware engineers.
And how do they get this data? Do you when you fill out your tax return, do you have to choose your specific? I'm an electronics engineer. Do you have to actually pick a category?
I just pick engineer. That's all. That's the granularity.
Ours are very specific here. We have electronics engineer, electronics technician. Okay. There's a whole slew of them.
Well, that's interesting. No, I think this was a self-reported kind of thing.
Right.
And maybe there's stuff with like unemployment numbers, like if you actually do lose your job or you apply for unemployment, there's that kind of stuff.
Okay. Right.
The important thing to note is the people doing the survey too is they're talking about not allowing H-1B visas, which is a very touchy subject in the States, right? H-1B visas being allowing people
skilled workers.
Yeah, skilled workers in, right? Yeah, who could be hired at lower wages, and so like it's always confounded by that kind of stuff, but. I don't know. It seems like anecdotally, I mean, at least from my experience, there's still jobs out there, but they're very specific. That's, I think this is still happening, but it seems like, as a holdover from the recession, there's just employers just sit on these job recs where they're like, well, we want 10 years of analog circuit design, and also we want you to be an expert Java programmer. It's like, what? Why? What the hell do those have to do with each other? But, their last guy was like that, and someone wrote a job rec like that, so... And that's why I don't apply to jobs online, Dave.
Right.
And that's why no one should apply. That's so dumb.
Sneak in the back door,
Sneak in the back... Dude, it is the way to do it, man.
Totally.
If you are a young engineer and you're looking for a job, do not apply online. You have to network. It sucks. But... it's going to be the place you least expect it.
Because you have to talk to other humans, and engineers aren't social creatures,
Right, but on the plus side, there's usually beer involved. So, that like I got my current job, I got while talking over a beer with a
there you go,
distributor engineer, right? So he was a FAE for a distributor, and he's like, yeah, I heard about this job, and I'm like, all right, cool, hook me up, and I went and interviewed. That is how so many jobs get passed around, and you just have to get in that first door, and then you have to, hear about stuff, and then you can go, move around a little bit. But man, it is tough to get that first one. So,
yep,
it's tough saying that from the outside too, right? It's like because my experience is never the same as anyone else's experience. I could tell
everyone's is different.
Yeah, I mean, I could give people advice all day, but it's like. If I say go get a co-op and there's no co-ops anywhere for, your specialty, then okay, now what? So it's like you just got to try a lot of things and keep your eyes out, make a portfolio, like all the things you read about,
And take any job you can get when you're a noob.
Yeah, take any job you can get, maybe work for free if you want to. There's always Kickstarter projects. Honestly, there's... you got to balance it, right? You don't want to be taken advantage of, but like there are Kickstarter projects that are looking for that kind of thing, or even better, start your own project or work on an open source project.
Of course,
there are opportunities, but yeah, it's it's crazy. So my friend, the other side of this electrical engineering unemployment being up. Software is lower than ever, right? It's less than 2%, which is effectively...
Oh, really?
Yeah, which means there is no unemployment, effectively, because they just can't reliably get numbers for that then. So I had a friend...
Or everyone who counted themselves a software programmer no longer calls themselves a software programmer has long since left the industry and,
Yeah, something like that.
Because there was that glut during the dot-com boom, right? Whereas if you had the Cisco networking certification, right, you'd be getting $150,000 a year or something, and now, geez, it's worthless, right? And you can't even get a job flipping burgers.
Right. Yeah, and... So I had a friend, though, so he was a hardware guy, and he went to something called Hacker School, which was in New York, and it's this crazy model, and maybe it'll work for hardware at some point, but I don't know. But actually, so Hacker School, it's like a how long is it? I think it's a 3-month program. You go work there on a project for like 3 months. And it's really interesting.
Right.
You know, you'll work on a project and it can be anything you want to, really. But they have mentors and office hours and all that other stuff. And basically the hacker school makes its money from recruitment fees because those are so exorbitant for software companies. And then,
right.
but you know, they are providing the service, and then now and like their placement rates are just ridiculous because it's software, right? So I could see a future where, you know, if hardware startups continue to grow, that same kind of thing could happen for hardware, you know, like that. And, you know, that's like, I guess Accelerators is similar to that kind of thing, right? They do the same, and Bolt is another one. You know, they do it more from the investment side. They get a part of your company,
right.
But, you know, as soon as those companies start hiring people, I'm sure that a similar program will start to pop up. So, yeah.
Interesting.
It's tough because hardware doesn't have as much, I don't know. It seems like hardware is more of a one-man gig these days. I mean, it's just fewer and fewer. You know, you can do so much on your own these days versus what you used to be able to do.
Well, yeah,
like you need
guess.
Different disciplines.
You've always been able to do it yourself if you really wanted to.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, so here's my perfect team, right? I guess here's the team that I would build today. If I was going to build a new product, I would have, depending what's on the board, right? I would have just a generic hardware engineer who's doing like layouts and stuff. I'd have an FPGA engineer or digital who could also, you know, work with micros and then FPGAs and digital logic. And then firmware engineer, right? Just single firmware engineer for constructing architecture. And then like 4 software engineers. That's like the disparity, right? And it's like, maybe it's just because they're lumped into one group, but like that's honestly...
Come on, depends on the product.
That is the dream team I've seen configured over and over and over again, right? I mean, like maybe that's just a bare bones team, but it seems like, and you can combine 1 or 2 here and there, but in terms of like number of hardware people in a discipline versus software people, right? It's just that just seems like what it is to me. And you're right, maybe I'm wrong.
In a lot of stuff, yes, it is. Yeah, totally agree. I've seen that.
And it just seems like, whereas, you know, 20 years ago where you had, you know, complex analog control loops and stuff, you'd have 5 analog engineers, right? And then you'd have 5 digital engineers because you're trying to deal with, you know, actual point-to-point wiring. Yeah,
because we have the internet these days, and user interfaces are totally different, and user expectations are totally different, and the whole stupid Internet of Things thing, and you want to hook the thing up to the internet just because you can, and you know, the user expectations are higher.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Whereas
is.
Back in the old day, it was okay to have just a 7-segment LED display showing a number. Right. You know, now it's got to hook up to the internet and show a freaking graph and stream it real time to the bloody web.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So anyways, what I was trying to get to with that is, it seems like you can... What the hell was I trying to say with that? I mean, just that hardware teams are smaller, right? I mean, you can do more with fewer people, right? Because higher integration in chips, like from an analog standpoint, of course. You can do more with analog because they integrate more into a single on-chip solution. Same thing with, these
then
SoCs.
Again, you can do more
chips.
in software these days with all the high-level
That's
stuff.
True.
You know, everything's done for you. You can stream, like one person can do everything these days.
Yeah.
If they want. Yeah. Just like in old days, you know. Because, yes, you don't have to know all the, nuts and bolts of programming for the web. Well, you can just get some module or system that already does that and plug it in.
Yeah.
You know, it's... whatever. Arms just flapping around, whatever.
Okay, one last thing I want to talk about before the end of the show, which was interesting.
Quick, we're way over.
No, we're not. We're fine.
People are getting sick of our voice.
Heathkit. Did you see this thing? They're back again.
Oh, not Heathkit again.
They're back again, yeah.
For the 10th time?
Yeah. So, they're like Secret Squirrel now, too, right? They're like, oh, we're back, but we won't say who we are.
Right.
And we won't say what we're doing, but if you like stuff, shoot us an email. It's like someone bought everything on the auction block and then said, we should ask if they like this stuff still. I don't know.
Wasn't it like one person who actually bought up the dregs or something?
At one point, yeah, but I think it's been sold again.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah, and then they tried to say, oh, well, who owns Heathkit? Well, Heath Company owns it. And then they stopped saying it. And my question was, well, who the hell owns Heath Company? You know, like, it's like, of course someone just bought the Heath Company and they're just hiding behind that. It's like,
I love their questions and answers. Like, is Heathkit back? Yes, we're back. So, are you really going to make Heathkit kits? Yes. Wow, that's simple? Yes. Will Heathkit products include entirely new designs? Yes. Will you revive my old kit design? Very likely. Tell us what you want. Take our survey.
I know. Yay. It's like, I always trust people on the internet too. It's like this is like straight out of GeoCities, It's like
next thing we're going to see a Kickstarter. Come on.
Oh yeah. For sure.
It's begging for it.
Yes.
It's begging for it.
It was just, it's too good to pass up. So, Heathkit is apparently back, but I'm going to call this one a little early, Dave. I'm going to say probably not.
Well, if they don't hurry up, everyone who remembers them will be dead.
I know.
It won't matter.
Yeah. So this is another thing. So this is something I talked to Jerry about a long time ago, actually. And actually, so I met up with Todd Bailey last night as well, and we were hanging out and talking. And he always goes to Analog Aficionados dinner, and a couple other of our listeners go out there. And so him and I were talking though, and he said he is very interested in just talking to old timers with like good stories, not like old time. It doesn't matter. I don't mean to just use old as a derogatory term, but I just mean like people with a lot of experience in the industry because. If they start retiring, we lose these stories. That sucks, right? And so I made him an offer, and I extend it here as well. I will send someone a H1 recorder, the same one that me and Dave have. I will send you a H1 recorder if you will promise us a couple interviews. If a couple old timers that have some good stories, and you want to just go interview them, I will offer that, and then we will air. We can set up a separate stream on the Amp Hour, or we can just link people to it, but. That is a public service that I am more than willing to fund because I think that is so cool, just like hearing stories. And so if people are interested in that kind of thing, shoot us an email, shoot theamphour@gmail.com an email, or Chris or Dave at theamphour.com an email, and let us know because that's a public service, basically. Mm-hmm. And so Todd was talking about doing it. We're going to have Todd on the show in the future, but... if you're interested in that kind of thing and you're motivated, let us know. We'll set up a program of that kind of thing because there's something called StoryCorps, which is in the States. I'm not sure I don't think it's overseas, but basically it's just a booth in like Grand Central Station in New York. And
right, and you can
you just go in there with like family members.
Just rock up and.
Yep. Yeah. People go in with their family members, and then it actually gets archived in the Library of Congress in the States, right? Which is awesome. Like all this oral history, just really cool stuff. And then the National Public Radio plays it, and there's always tearful stories, and I'm driving to work crying my eyes out. It's just like, oh. We don't want the tearful stories, but the awesome stories. Like there's just so much awesome stuff out there. If people are interested, give me a shout. We'll set something up. So I think that could be really cool, just as a oral history of the electronics industry.
Yep.
So that's all I got. How about you?
That's all I got. Okay. I've got to get out of here.
Yeah, you got to go tear some stuff down, huh?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
It's late on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I'll just bum around for the next couple of hours before I go, oh, holy shit, it's 4 o'clock. I better actually
we'll see your tweeting in about 4 hours.
Like, that's it.
It's Tuesday.
I haven't done that, have I?
Yeah, you did that last week.
And every week before that,
yeah. All right, cool.
Oops.
Well, have people, if you guys are interested, send us an email, and don't forget to submit stories to Reddit, and give us reviews on iTunes if you like us.
Great.
See you next week.
Sounds good. Bye.
The Amp Hour. Keep current. I was thinking we should do that as an outro. I was listening to these audio ads, and it's like weird. Like, it was like they were doing the ad. They're like, so it'd be like, check out all your favorite electronics podcasts at theamphour.com. The Amp Hour. Keep current. Like, that would be like the ad where they repeat it at the end. It was like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, would we do that?